and enlightenment there. Okay. Fanatic. What's up, Fanatic? How you doing?
Yo, what's good?
Nothing, man. Pretty good, man. Welcome back.
Yeah, so firstly, there's two topics, right? Jesus is God and Paul is greater than Mohammed. So I would like to talk about Jesus being God. So
Of course.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead though.
So what is your principle for that? So what is your proof of that?
Well, Jesus does and says things that only God can do and only God can claim. Otherwise, if he wasn't God, he would be a lying blasphemer and a crazy person, which we know he's not. So he says things like, for example, he claims to be the first and the last. That is a claim that only God, a title and a name that only God has. Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah.
Yep. So in Revelation chapter 1, verse 17, he says, I am the first and the last. Same thing in chapter 22, same book, Revelation 22. He says, I am the first and the last, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, showing that he's infinite and eternal, uncreated, the everlasting living God. So Jesus makes these type of claims about himself, which shows me that he's God.
So your source would be the New Testament, right?
100%. Absolutely.
If there's like contradictions or if there is false theology in there, would you say it's not a reliable source?
If there's what?
If there's contradictions or false theology.
If there's false theology, then yeah, it's not from God. Or contradictions in the theology. We're not talking about textual variances, but if there's actual contradiction within the theology, then yeah, of course, it's not from God.
Yeah, so I would say I definitely think there are claims from Jesus being divine, but I also think it's impossible he is God at the same time.
Okay.
Because God would not be subject to corruption, correct?
Subject to corruption? What do you mean corruption?
Yeah. So meaning he can't suffer, decay, fail.
Okay. Did Jesus suffer decay or fail?
He suffered, yeah.
Did he suffer decay?
Yeah.
Where did he decay? Because he literally did not decay.
I mean, he died.
But did he decay?
How would you define decay?
Like you decompose, your body, decays.
It was in that process, I'm pretty sure.
His body didn't even see corruption, bro. See, I like that. What you said is that God could not fail. Jesus didn't fail, nor can God decay or, become corrupt, right? Decay, decompose.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what is said about Jesus. Jesus, even though he died, death could not hold him. It was impossible for death to hold him. Matter of fact, let me show you this. This is what it says here, bro. I'm glad you brought this up. I was actually just talking about this the other day. We're going to go to Acts chapter 2, and we're going to see that this was actually prophesied about the Messiah. He says this in Acts chapter 2. Watch this. It says, men of Israel, hear these words. This is Peter talking after he's filled with the Holy Spirit. So God is actually speaking through Peter. Jesus of Nazareth, a man attested to you by God with mighty works and wonders and signs that God did through him in your midst, as you yourselves know, this Jesus, delivered up according to the definite plan and the foreknowledge of God, you crucified and killed by the hands of lawless men. God raised him up, loosing the pangs of death, because it was not possible. It wasn't possible for him to be held by it. Look at that. It's impossible for death to hold Jesus. Who do they think Jesus is? And he says this, for David says concerning him, so he's about to quote Psalm 16, I saw the Lord always before me, for he is at my right hand, that I may not be shaken. Therefore my heart was glad and my tongue rejoiced. My flesh also will dwell in hope, for you will not abandon my soul to Hades, meaning the realm of the dead, right? You won't leave me there, or let your Holy One see corruption. He won't become corrupted. You have made known to me the paths of life. You will make me full of gladness with your presence. Now watch what Peter says. He says, brothers, I may say to you with confidence about the patriarch David, that he both died and was buried, and his tomb is with us to this day. You see where it says to this day?
Yeah.
To this day, man. Verse 30, being therefore a prophet. So David wasn't speaking about himself when he said that he was For look, watch what he says. Being therefore a prophet, and knowing that God had sworn with an oath to him that he would set one of his descendants on his throne, he foresaw and spoke about the resurrection of the Christ, that he was not abandoned to Hades, nor did his flesh see corruption. This Jesus God raised up, and of that we are all witnesses. So we see here that Jesus, neither did he fail, nor did he see corruption. So he's God by that standard, right?
Yeah. But then you would have the problem of him not being fully man, because it's essential to humanity to have corruption and have a sinful nature.
No, it's not essential for man to have a sinful nature. That's not how God created us. We developed a sinful nature when Adam sinned, and so we're born fallen. But that's not innate to us. That's not innate to the human nature.
So how was he not born fallen then, if he had the same human nature as we did? Because
he's holy. He's holy and he's perfect. So he comes in the likeness of sinful man, but without sin himself. You know?
So he had a sinful nature, but he had no personal sin?
No, he doesn't have a sinful nature at all. He's just human. He's human, and he is human without sin.
That's impossible, though.
No, not for Jesus.
So then would that not be special pleading then?
How is that special pleading?
Because every man has sin.
Except Jesus. Except Jesus.
Yeah.
So
I would concede that, but there are still other problems.
Okay, what's another problem?
Because in his humanity, he wasn't all-knowing. He had properties that contradict the divine properties.
Well, it's not that he has properties that contradict his divine properties, or that he's not all-knowing and all. No, he's all-knowing. It's just that you'll see where he's operating within the properties of his human nature, or he's limiting himself, submitting himself to human limitations. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have his divine attributes. You know what I'm saying? Because he obviously has a divine nature. So him operating in his humanity as he is human doesn't negate that he's also divine and has the divine properties as well.
So you would say he wasn't limited in his humanity, but he chose to not be all-knowing.
No, so he is all-knowing. He is all-knowing, like Jesus. It says, let me show you. He says in John 6, it says in John 16, verse 30 and 31, or 29, 30 and 31. Whoops, wrong thing. All right, it says here, his disciples said, now you are speaking plainly and not using figure of speech. Now we know that you know all things and do not need anyone to question you. This is why we believe that you came from God. Now, Jesus' response, watch this. It's not, hey, guys, wait, stop. You're giving me too much credit. I don't know all things, but, I do know a lot. No, he says, Jesus answered them, do you now believe? He's like, you just now getting it? Of course I know all things, right? So you see where Jesus, you can tell, like Jesus says, for example, he says, no one knows the Father except the Son in Matthew 11. In order to know God, like no finite mind can fully know God. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So it'll take an infinite mind, an all-knowing mind, to know God himself. Jesus said,
definitely know him, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jesus says, all things have been handed over to me by my Father, and no one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and to anyone whom the Son chooses to reveal him. So just like no one knows the Father except the Son, so Christ, the Son has to have an infinite mind in order to know the Father. In the same way, it takes an infinite mind to know the Son as well. No finite mind can fully comprehend or know the Son. And so Jesus says the same thing about himself. No one knows the Father, no one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and to anyone whom the Son chooses to reveal him. So we see Jesus giving us, showing us his prowess when it comes to his knowledge, his cognitive ability. He's all knowing. He has an infinite mind,
Yeah, my whole argument was based on him being subject to corruption, but I guess he's not, so yeah. I don't really have an argument.
Oh, okay. Well, you ready to repeat after me? Shadu?
Nah, no, yet, not yet.
Not yet. It's all right. We still working on you, fanatic. We still working on you. Is that it though? You didn't have nothing else? Because remember, I told you can come anytime if you have just objections or questions that hit you. Anything, you can come and ask. So nothing's on your mind right now.
No, that answers it basically.
That's it. Okay, for sure. All right, God bless you, man. I'll see you next time.
I do have one more question.
Sure.
So I don't know what denomination you are, but what are your views on Greek Orthodox, for example? Because I'm looking into that. I was looking into the Church Fathers.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's quite interesting. So what are your views on them?
Well, one, I think that they're awesome. They have already flushed a lot of the stuff out that we deal with today. They flushed all of this stuff out in detail long before we are even addressing them. All of this stuff is addressed, and they've done a beautiful job. So I think they're awesome. I think that looking into Greek Orthodoxy is a help, especially coming from a Muslim background, because you guys pride yourself on tradition and like historical substance within the religion, and you'll find that in Orthodoxy. So I'd say keep looking into it.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. All right, man. Take care. Until next time.
Goodbye.
All right, peace.